This is episode 36 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, and this is a recap from our first 35 episodes, over 30,000 downloads. I don't even know if that's good. Somebody told me that's pretty good, but honestly, I look at the podcast charts and everybody's killing it on the high end. So we're just doing what we can here to make sure that you're getting a well-rounded view of real estate investing. So what I'm going to do for episode 36 is I'm going to go back through our first 35 episodes, what I got from them, just so you can have like kind of a primer of what's out there. So if you listen to this episode and you haven't listened to prior episodes of the podcast, this will basically tell you what's out there. You can scroll through whatever podcast syndicator you listen to podcasts on, go through the titles and see what makes sense to you. But I'm just going to kind of wrap it up quickly with just a couple sentences on each episode. And that'll give you just a broad overview of what we've done since we started. Technically, there were 6 preview episodes and also a trailer. So we started at episode 7. So there's 28 episodes to talk about. And at the time of this recording, we're releasing episode 35 tomorrow. So this one will come out the week following. So this is it, episode 36, which is called 35 episodes and 30,000 downloads. I'm Jonathan Green. I'm your host. I've been here this whole time. I'm really excited about this podcast. We've done really well so far. We've done so well that now we've launched an agent podcast. So technically this podcast is also sponsored by our other podcast, which is called The Art of Agency, a Launchpad for Realtors, co-hosted by Mallory Pazder with me. And it's basically a mastermind coaching session for realtors. But by doing that, it will also bring value to home buyers, sellers, and investors. And when we talk about this podcast, then in the art of real estate investing, we're talking about investing in all contexts. And that can mean buy, sell, invest, Airbnb, anything that you want to do. I'm going to start at episode 7 and go all the way up to episode 35 before we check out. And then next week, we'll be back with interviews. So episode 7 was learning how to flip houses from scratch with my best friend, Jenny Burke. And it's at the time of this recording, we just put our latest flip in Montville, New Jersey on the market this morning. So if you go back and listen to episode 7, you'll hear Jenny and I talk about what we do as flippers, what our philosophy is on flipping, and all the different things that come into your mindset when you're trying to figure out what to do. You know, is flipping right for everybody? Definitely not. But if you're thinking about getting started with house flipping, budget is everything. You're going to find out how Jenny and I figure everything out with money. And you're also going to find out how she has done 10 to 15 flips in the last 4 years on her own and what that was like going through it all. Episode 13, also a solo episode with me, where I give you 5 pro tips to help you become a better landlord. I find these to be no-brainers, but I think sometimes as new landlords, you really need to know a couple things that you need to do to help yourself. And generally, what I think as landlord is my job is to make it feel so much like home for the guests that they never need to call me unless there's fire or water. That's what you want to do. Be a good help so that they treat your property like their home, and then your investment becomes worth more because they take care of it. That's episode 13. Episode 17. Wow. I was lucky I was on this guy's podcast and I was so impressed with him. I was really excited that he wanted to come on my podcast. So it's Learning How to Raise Private Money with John Kasman, the host of Multifamily Insights, which used to be called Target Market Insights. It's a great podcast. I mean, everybody knows John has like one of the best podcast voice ever. I'm just trying to like get up the ranks to get a voice close to his. He talks about his experience growing up as trying to figure out how to be a real estate investor as he got older. He was working that 9 to 5 and he was figuring out how he needed to get started. And then eventually he got to the point where it takes off for him. And then he's going to tell you a lot about how he started raising private money, who he went to, how he built up the credibility. And there's a lot of other episodes that play on this too. John's a great guy. Definitely listen to his podcast, Target Market Insights. Sorry, now it's called Multifamily Insights. It's a great podcast. Episode 24, Improving Lives Through Real Estate with Ryan Gibson. Ryan is one of the co-founders of Spartan Investment Fund. They do a ton of self-storage. So we talk a lot about self-storage. Ryan is also a pilot. He just dropped a podcast about pilots who have passive investing in their future. So I would look out for that. I really enjoyed this episode. We had a good talk about self-storage, things that go into it. Again, and another episode where mindset comes into play. It's an interesting story because he started with arbitrage, and you'll find that with a lot of my guests, they started house hacking before house hacking was even a thing, or they started trying out arbitrage, or they tried something, but they were trying something as investors before anyone really knew what the terminology for it was. Episode 33 was a huge one. I was honored to get my guy, Dave Meyer, the VP of Growth and Analytics from Bigger Pockets, on how to use data and analytics to get bigger pockets. Dave just chilling in Amsterdam when we're on our podcast. He is the Data Deli on Instagram, and you can see him bringing in the trending information every day with his view. He had so many good points. I loved our conversation. We talked about a lot about what the market's going to do, markets that are going to be open and why there is a glut of commercial real estate out there. I think the most interesting part, if I could just pick one thing, is how he uses analytics. He's not strict on the analytics. He's using the analytics as a guide to make informed decisions. And that's what he does for Bigger Pockets. And that's what he does in his content. Feels like I just ran right through that. I hope that episode was helpful. It's really set up so you can go back through, get a couple tidbits from each of the episodes. And look, if you heard something in one of those things that I said and you said that episode sounds great, feel free to shut me down and go listen to that episode. I'm fine with it. That's all. I hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you're listening to it. If you're in the car, if you listen while you're walking, if you listen to it while you're just relaxing, I really appreciate it. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I know what's out there, and we're just trying to push our podcast up the chart by getting the best guests and the best information to help you have a more mindful approach to real estate investing. We'll see you next week.